Here's this one. Move it back a bit. Do you want to notice it? Is that better? Let's sharpen it up. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, I should have blown it up. I mean, enlarged it. You see, we want to get the process concrete. No, that's not very... Okay, let's see. That's about it, I think. Okay, remember that the traditional laws of logic begin with the law of identity. A equals A. In fact, maybe I should begin right there and swing over to the other one. Notice what he says this. When the principles of essence are taken as essential principles of thought, they become predicates of a proposed subject, which, because they are essential, is everything, true of everything. And the propositions thus arising have been stated as universal laws of thought. What propositions? Propositions that are principles of what it is to be, of essence. What is being? On your outline of logic, you notice that you start with being, and then move to essence, what it is to be. That it is existence. What it is, essence. Incidentally, where did Sartre get his famous terminology for existence precedes essence? Hegel. You see, Sartre is using a Hegelian dialectic, as we'll see when we get to it. Okay, so the universal laws of thought. Thus, the first of them, the maxim of identity, reads, everything is identical with itself. A equals A. Negatively, law of non-contradiction, A cannot at the same time be A and not A. This maxim, instead of being a true law of thought, is nothing but a law of abstract understanding. Now, remember that I said that he regards the traditional laws of logic. It's true, but trivial. You see? Trivial, why? Well, because he's not concerned with some proposition, static proposition, about a static reality, such that A equals A at every time. No. He's not concerned with such sheer abstractions from reality. Reality is process. The unfolding, meandering of thought. And in that process, nothing stays the same. And that doesn't violate the law of thought, which says A equals A at the same time. The trouble is, there's no same time tomorrow as yesterday. It's a different time. And so the law of identity may deal with abstract understanding, but not with concrete conceptualization of process, you see. So, come back to the other one. Identity is, in the first place, the repetition of what we had earlier as being, but has become through supersession of its character of immediateness. Yes, if you look on the outline of the logic, you'll notice that within the quality, the logical quality affirming, remember quality in logic is affirmative or negative. You see, you start with being and then you move to the negative non-being. Okay, from the affirmative being to the negative non-being to the synthesis of the two, becoming. You see, am I the same as I was yesterday, identical or not? Yes, both the same and not. You see, because I'm in a process of becoming. So then, identity is the repetition of what was being, now is becoming, because the immediateness of being that was has been superseded, supersession, it's been superseded. It's therefore being as ideality that we talk about if we're talking of identity. Some ideal abstraction that isn't in a process of becoming. It's important to come to a proper understanding of the true meaning of identity, and for that purpose we must guard against taking it as abstract identity to the exclusion of all difference. And that's the touchstone for distinguishing bad philosophy from what truly deserves the name of philosophy. Identity, in its truth, as an ideality, an ideal notion of what is a high category of religious modes of being as well as other forms of thought and mental activity. The true knowledge of God begins with knowing him as he is. Identity. Absolute identity. Unchanging. You see. But does that apply to anything in time? Is there any such unchanging identity in time? In history? To know so much is to see that all the power and glory of the world sinks into nothing in God's presence, because he is who he is, unchanging identity. In the same way, identity as self-consciousness, my own personal identity, remember the question of personal identity in John Locke and others, what constitutes my identity as a person? Identity is self-consciousness and what distinguishes men from nature, particularly from brutes which never reach the point of comprehending themselves as I. That is a pure self-contained unity. So in connection with thought, the main thing is not to confuse the true identity, which contains being and characteristics transfigured in its changing processes. Don't confuse true identity with the abstract identity of their form. All the charges of narrowness, hardness, meaninglessness directed against thought from the quarter of feeling, there's some of your romanticists, rest on the perverse assumption that thought acts only as a faculty of abstract identification. Formal logic confirms this assumption by laying down the supreme law of thought, A equals A. If thinking were no more than abstract identity, we couldn't but own it to be futile, tedious, trivial. No doubt the notion, the idea too, were identical with themselves, but identical only insofar as at the same time they involve distinction. Well, you follow that line of unfolding the concept of concrete identity, which is identity through difference, rather than the abstract ideal identity of something in which there is no process of change. Now, by the same token, take a look at what he says about non-contradiction, where it's the second paragraph. Now, this is the excluded middle law, sorry. Excluded middle. Instead of speaking of the maxim of excluded middle, remember something is either A or non-A, there's no third alternative. Instead of speaking of the maxim of excluded middle, which is a maxim of abstract understanding, we should rather say that everything is opposite. Neither in heaven and earth, neither in the world of mind or of nature, is there anything such as an abstract either-or, as that law of excluded middle maintains. Whatever exists is concrete, with difference and opposition within itself. I'm one thing, I'm becoming something else. The finitude of things will then lie in the want of correspondence between their immediate being, what I am now, and what they essentially are. You see, I am not yet fully what I am in essence, in principle. We're all in process. Thus, in inorganic nature, the acid is implicitly at the same time the base. Its only being consists in its relationship to its other. The acid is not something which persists quietly in the contrast, it's always in effort to realize what it potentially is, it's in process. Contradiction, in that sense, is the very moving principle of the world. It's ridiculous to say that contradiction is unthinkable. Sure, you can think both A and not A, insofar as they apply at different times, or in different respects. Aristotle knew that. You see. Contradiction is the moving principle of the world. It's ridiculous to say contradiction is unthinkable. The only thing correct in that statement is that contradiction is not the end of the matter. Contradiction contradicts itself. Okay, you move from the antithesis to the synthesis. It's only one side of the contrary. So the proximate result of opposition, realized as contradiction, is the ground of being. The ground, which contains identity as well as difference superseded, deposed to elements of the complete notion. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Now, does that make sense? See what he's saying? The traditional laws of logic, Aristotle himself qualified with the phrase at the same time and in the same respect. So to think that those laws of logic give you a corner on a changing process, obviously mistaken. They're dealing with something you hold in your mind in abstraction from the concrete process of reality, where you think of the essence of something in abstraction from the process of actualizing that in reality. You know, you can look at a squealing, squalling, weak old baby, one of those things that takes in liquid at one end and lets it out both constantly, and say this is a rational being. Well, you are speaking in abstraction about an ideal essence, which plainly has not yet been achieved. But obviously, also, inasmuch as there is that what Aristotle calls potency, potential, the process of actualization is going to be going on, is going on, at an early stage, in which what it is now, in reality, is being negated by what it is becoming, namely toilet trained, to the parent's great relief. And that charming childhood, in antithesis to the babyhood, is somehow or other going to be itself transcended in a way that both contradicts and preserves what the youngster was in infancy and what it was in childhood, but going far beyond that. Now, if everything, every finite being is actually in process of becoming, you see in the first dialectical movement under logic, those categories, the concept of being is sheer abstraction, if by that you mean unchanging. The process of non-being is sheer abstraction. You move from those abstractions to the more concrete concept, becoming. The more concrete it is, the more the comprehension of the concept. And it's not until the concept of being is amplified and fleshed out in the great overall synthesis that you finally get what being is in its fullest reality, namely absolute, all-knowing, completely free sovereign spirit. Hegel's absolute. So when he says about contradiction, that it's the moving principle of the world, he's not saying that the world is teeming with contradictions and that self-contradictory propositions are true. No, he's simply saying that in the process of history, things are changing. Sure. Does that relativize everything? Does it relativize ethics? Not for Hegel. Not for Hegel. We'll have to see why. Okay, do you want to pause there and reflect? Steve?
When you, this is going back to the sense of
yeah.
Where you had Napoleon as the center of this world,
yeah.
Napoleon and then everything. Now, does he do that for every individual?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you raised that. Let me see, I'll take this off if you want it again, say. But I'm glad you raised that, Steve, because he does indeed, and I wanted to make that point. We have in, well, actually on this table of logic, let's see, where is it? No, I guess, under logic 3, the concept, 1, the subject, and small 1, the initial immediate concept. Okay, at that stage in expounding the categories, he points out that the concepts, and here's another triad, can be universal, in particular, or individual. Well, you know that's the case already in ordinary logic. Universal, all men are mortal. Particular, some people are liars. Individual, Socrates is mortal. Okay, individual. Now, what he's doing is pointing out that the universal concept, which you might come up with, is sheer abstraction. It's an abstract idea, is the traditional way of talking about it. It's an abstract idea. There are no real universals running around separately in some platonic heaven. You see, it's abstract thought. On the other hand, the notion of particulars, isolated, discrete particulars of atomistic sort, as in John Locke and Descartes and so forth, these little Lucretian atoms of thought, without any intrinsic connectedness to anything else. That is a further abstraction that stands in antithesis to the first abstraction. Thesis, antithesis. Reality, concretely, is neither universal in that sense nor particular in that sense. You're not an island. No man is an island. You see? We are what we are in relationship to everything around us. So that the individual, the concrete individual, you see, who is what he is by virtue of everything that is, every relationship that has fed into making Steve what he is, and everything that will go out from Steve, the history-shaping things that emerge, you see. All of that relationality is what defines your identity. You see, what you are doing as an individual, and what we all do as individuals, is to concretize universal possibilities. Now, the universal is simply abstract possibilities. You see. And what we're doing is concretizing, realizing, actualizing those abstract possibilities. You see, all of history has had the potency gradually coming closer and closer to producing fruit for Steve Schulhouse. Those emerged. You see. Now, obviously, the world historical figure like Napoleon is vastly different, or Winston Churchill, Gorbachev. You see. But for every one of us, it's the same sort of thing. Who would you be if it weren't for those forebears who got together? Who would I be if my dad had married the other girl he was going with first?
How can you tell when it's kind of emergent?
Well, you sound as if there's a static point. Emergence is a process. It takes a long time.
Seems like it's static with that diagram over there.
Well, no, because actually, if I were to draw it accurately, remember a diagram is an abstraction too, the one would flow into the other, you see. No stop. No stop. Process change. So this is how he deals with the theory of universals, Steve. You see, are there abstract universals, concepts? Yes. Are there real universal potentials? Yes. Are there real universals? Well, only as they're concretized in individuals. The individual synthesizes, you see, these antitheses of universality and particularity. To concretize a universal is to actualize possibilities in particular ways. So his theory of universals is no, there are no Platonic universals, but there are embodied universals, incarnated universals. Which is sort of an echo of Aristotle in another way. Right.
If you were to take this like onto an atomistic level, would it be
Yeah.
like what Leibniz conceptualized with the monad in that they're effective, they're kind of like reflections?
But not windows. No, you see, the atomistic model of the 17th century was of pellets of matter that are indivisible and having no intrinsic relationship to any other. And he's rejected that. Leibniz is of individual units of force, windowless without any intrinsic causal relationship to anything else. Hegel doesn't want that. The process is one of interdependence. Yeah. Think of it more as a biological process.
How is Hegel001 different from Parmenides? So that
Yeah.
Parmenides, you might follow that.
Well, yeah, remember that for Parmenides, the basic issue, or the basic theme, is that there is a way of truth and a way of illusion. Now, Hegel is not calling individuality illusion. He's not calling change illusion. If you like, he has synthesized the two concepts of permanence and change. What's permanence? What's permanent? Form, structure, reason at work in history, the creative unfolding of the concept, the self-understanding of the absolute. Yeah. The structure of the process is there. But no, this isn't Parmenides saying individuals are illusory. Now, at the same time, when we get to social philosophy, we'll begin to see that Hegelian thought tended to generate conservative political thought. You can see why. Conservative political thought which views the state as having more significance than what we would call the individual. Italian fascism was a kind of neo-Hegelian political philosophy. The philosopher of Italian fascism was a man named Giovanni Gentile, who was Mussolini's Minister of Education for a while. And he was a Hegelian philosopher, neo-Hegelian. Now, don't equate fascism with Nazism. Philosophically, they're poles apart. Poles apart. Yeah. But that's the tendency. And in more irenic forms, you get conservative political thought coming out in Britain. So that Hegelianism provided a philosophical framework for certain kinds of political conservatism there. An emphasis on taking your place in society and doing your duty. We'll talk later of F.H. Bradley, British philosopher, who has a classic essay on ethics entitled My Station and Its Duty. And if you say it with a broad English accent, you begin to get the point. My station and its duty. You know, you get the ideal of the person with his place in society, knowing his place and his responsibilities that come with that. Something that's unknown in American society, but its fluidity. All right, let's see. Take a look at the outline on logic, would you, in the light of this. And notice the triads all the way down. You can't mistake them. If you think that quality and quantity are antithetical concepts, quality and quantity,